Good morning, students. Today we will be studying about a very important topic called or neurosyphilis. Now, this topic, neurosyphilis, is very, if I can say, very common in exams, which is questions which are been asked in exams, and very pet topic of all the examiners. Fine. So I thought of taking a very light topic and which could be completed within 15-20 minutes. Fine. So let us start with the topic called neurosyphilis. Now, neurosyphilis is an infection of nervous system and which results from an infection by a gram-negative spirochete trinoma pallidum, and this is basically a gram negative bacteria, and which is it is like a coil, a black color coil shape structure, and it develops after inadequate treatment of elderly syphilis. Now, the primary infection we have to, before we come into this neurosyphilis, as you will understand through this presentation, that it is a tertiary form of a syphilis. We say primary complication, we say secondary complication, and then we say tertiary complication. So it's a tertiary syphilis. We also say it as tertiary syphilis. So the primary, let us understand how it happens, and then we can understand why the tertiary stage, and which we are where physiotherapy takes a very important role, comes into play. Now, primary infection of syphilis is characterized by a canker, that is a firm and a painless genital ulcer. Now, this is the primary infection, and which takes place within the 3 weeks of the infection. The incubation period is maximum of 3 weeks. The secondary bacteremic stage, it takes place within 12 weeks, that is more after that initial 3 weeks inoculation stage. Then the next 12 weeks, which results in there can be a mucocutaneous lesions, that is there will be a rash, a palmar rash or a plantar rash, and a lymphadenopathy, that is lymph nodes being swollen. Fine. And this latent, then the next, after this first stage and the second stage, it comes into that latent stage. Now, this latent stage can be from 3 years, and it can go up to 20 years. Fine. And this latent phase is where it is not so, it is tertiary signs to develop. It takes really time, good time, so it slowly progressively develops. There is will inflammatory disease of skin takes place, gammas, which we called as gammas. That is, gamma is slow, deteriorated or dead, non-cancerous tissue which are formed. It is formed on the skin. There are non-cancerous, and there is a necrosis of the tissue takes place, dead tissue, accumulation of non-cancerous dead skin tissue is called as gammas. And in heart, it takes as a condition of aortitis, that is basically the arteries, the intima of the arteries are getting infected. There's an infection of the intima of the arteries takes place, and which results in decreasing in the distance, or decreasing the flow, or obstructing the flow of the blood, which results in inflammation of that, and then reduction in the blood flow. So aortitis and chorioretinitis of eye. Now, chorioretinitis, as you understand, chorea and retina. Choroid is a layer of eye, and retina, you all know, understand, it is having all the light sensitive cells. So choroid is the layer of the eye which basically give vascular supply to retina. Now, any inflammation and at chorioretinitis is will result in vision loss, will ultimately result in a vision loss. So this is within 15 to 20 years, it will slowly progress into this disease of inflammatory disease of gammas or aortitis or chorioretinitis. Fine. So the tertiary neurosyphilis develops in 7% of patients with untreated primary syphilis. If the primary syphilis that was in the first stage, where there was just a small, we have seen an ulcer around the genital area was seen. If it is not treated, then it will results in similar a palmar on a plantar rash, and then it will later on happen into a turn into a tertiary stage where it may involve meninges or in parenchyma or any of the chronic meningeal disease. Okay, now neurosyphilis is defined as a syphilis of, now what happens in neurosyphilis, if you can see for yourself. Neurosyphilis is defined as a syphilis of spinal cord, and where the degeneration of sensory neuron takes place because it affects the dorsal horn of the spinal cord, and the patient complains of stabbing pain of in the legs and the trunk, and there is incontinence, impotence, and unsteady gait. So when there is sensory losses there, what will happen? Now you understand that for walking we require visual, we require our receptors to work along with us. Like we want visual, our receptors tell us, our eardrums, where that is a hair cell which help us to tell you the location and the position, and the, of course, the vestibule, it helps us. It also our proprioceptors at the joint, at the foot, they also give response. So they are all giving feedback to our brain that we are walking and we are doing our work correctly. So when our proprioceptors of the foot, they are not able to they are affected in cases where the sensory neurons are affected, so the proprioceptors are not giving a proper response. So what will happen is, in order to feel the ground, what the person will do is, the person will not able to feel whether this ground is smooth or it is uneven. So what he will do is, as soon as the foot touches the ground, he is not able to feel whether he is touching the ground or not, so he will try to stab. Now with the sound of this stab, he is able to understand he has hit the ground, the foot has hit the ground. So this is called a stabbing gait, or stamping gait, that is the foot stamp on the ground. This is called a stabbing gait. Okay, foot slapping gait. Stamping gait or foot slapping gait, this is the typical gait, because the patient stamp the foot in order to feel or the ground and in order to walk. Fine. So that is why we are, this is very common where we see an unsteady gait. Now the main cause of neurosyphilis is from the bacteria, as we have discussed. It is caused by Treponema pallidum. So it is a gram negative bacteria, and this is in the form of a small earthworm shape, a small hair-like shape structure is there. Now pathophysiology we will go in detail, and in the tertiary stage, it in this infection is all, this bacteria has already affected the meninges. The because of the meninges, it has also gone into the blood vessels, it has gone into the spinal cord, it has gone into the peripheral veins, nerves. So that is main is the meninges, the blood vessels, the spinal cord, and the peripheral nerves are being affected. Now if we can see the meninges, what all happened to meninges? The meninges becomes congested, and basically the pia mater and arachnoid mater are infiltrated with lymphocytes. Now our response to any kind of bacterial gram negative or infection is WBC come into action. So there is congestion or infiltration of lymphocytes, and these lymphocytes, they get congested more around the blood vessels. Now what will happen at this meninges if the blood vessels, you understand, arachnoid mater we have seen, dura and pia, in between is the arachnoid mater. The arachnoid mater is full of blood vessels. It is a very large a sarapnoid space is basically filled with the blood vessels or the veins. So they are responsible for the supply of the I can say the blood supply. Now these vessels, now herein there is the lymphocytes, they are accumulated in the blood vessels. So what will happen is, as soon as the lymphocytes are accumulated, so where will be they accumulate? They will accumulate around the intima of the blood vessels. The intima is the innermost layer of the blood vessels, innermost layer of the wall of the blood vessels. So they starts and there is proliferation of the intima, because as soon as the WBC is getting, because this bacteria causes the proliferation of the intima and the WBC gets stuck over there. So once this happen, what will happen is that the elasticity of this arterial walls or the blood vessel walls, as well as because of the cellular infiltration of the intima, will results in inflammatory response, severe pan arteritis, that is severe inflammatory response of the blood vessels takes place. What is happening? The elasticity or the the cell wall of the blood vessels, the elasticity is totally lost. And number two, because why it is lost? Because the intima starts proliferating and the lymphocytes start attacking on it, or start giving a defense response. So as a result, there is an inflammatory response which takes place at pan or inside the cell wall. So what will happen because of all of this is there will be lack of blood supply due to the this disease, and which will result in atrophy. Now atrophy is whichever area this arachnoid matter is supplying, whether it is mostly seen in the frontal lobes, because personality changes happens, so there will be atrophy, the blood supply over there will be reduced. Now if this is similarly happening in because of meninges. Now if it happens in the spinal cord, what will happen is they have an affinity towards the posterior tract, so the degeneration of posterior tracts takes place, as well as the peripheral nerves. So there is typically sensory loss of the takes place because of the degeneration of the posterior tract and the periphery nerves. Now what will happen when these things are there? Clinically it results in three conditions, which is very much important. There is meningovascular syphilis, it can result in tabes dorsalis, or it can result in general paralysis of insane. These questions are being asked as a 2 number question, or it can be asked as a 10 number question also. Meningovascular syphilis, tabes dorsalis, and general paralysis of insane. Now, what is meningovascular syphilis? Now, it basically involves, as I have shown, or we have discussed in the pathophysiology, that the meninges will be involved, and of course the blood vessels which are inflamed and then thickened, and the blood vessels get narrowed. Now, as you understand, the intima is first inflamed, and because of the deposition or the proliferation of the intima, which results in the loss of the elastin, as well as the reaction of the lymphocytes over there, which causes further narrowing of the blood vessels, which results in number one is there will be what? Narrowing of the blood vessels, the blood supply to that area will be reduced. Number two is there can be chances of thrombosis, as we have seen in cardiovascular accidents. So there can be episodes of thrombosis can be there, and which can cause sudden paralysis of the limbs. Depending upon whichever area the thrombus get dislodged, it will result in a sudden paralysis of the, depending upon which lobe it is been getting is affected. Then the CSF, what does the CSF show? The CSF show that there is a raised WBC count is there. The lymphocytes counts are increased. Lymphocytes are increased, and then the blood is showing a Wesermann reaction. This is an old way of showing that the person, nowadays we don't go for this, we do go for VDRL tests, but yes, these the similar reaction to an antigen antibody reaction takes place, and we come to know that there is that the nervous system is been involved. Fine, whether the blood is carrying any antibody or not. So antigen antibody reaction is this reaction. The second one is, so we got to know the first reaction was the first type was meningovascular syphilis. As we have seen, the infection of the meninges takes place, as well as meninges, basically the arachnoid mater is being affected because it is full of blood vessels, and there is inflammation of the intima, and there is a narrowing of or thickening of the blood wall. Blood vessel walls takes place, narrowing of the blood vessel wall, which may result in atrophy of a particular part of the brain. Second, it can also result in thrombosis, sudden paralysis of a brain, and CSF will show increased in lymphocyte count. The second stage, which is important and which is very common, is tabes dorsalis. Now it is basically the degeneration of the posterior horn of the dorsal horn of the spinal cord, which takes place, which is responsible for the sensory roots. Now the patient will complain of lightning pains, girdle pains, loss of position sense. I told you proprioceptive sense will be lost. position sense will be lost. Girdle pains will be there, that is hip girdle and shoulder girdle pains will be there. Lightning pains will be there throughout the night. Shooting lightning pains are there. There are defective in sensory uh, part, and tendon reflexes will be absent. There is, so no bladder control will be present. There will be loss of bladder control. Tendon reflexes are absent, and because of lack of sensation, there will be foot ulcers are very much common, because the person is not able to appreciate whether he is hitting some stone in the ground or he has a shoe bite. So what will happen, there will be ulcers on the foot is there. If he is not able to, he is not inspecting his foot regularly, he will not come to know whether the foot has an ulcer, which will very quickly develop into necrosis and gangrene, which we'll later on discuss. So if it is a gangrene, then the toe need to be amputated. So there is nothing which can be done. So the one of the things which is very much important over here is that we ask the person to inspect the foot every day, so that if there is, or while cutting off the nails, they need to be clipped very consciously, because even clipping of the nails can cause the little bit of damage, and with little bit of sensory nerves may be involved, or blood can ooze out. So they need to be healed, or they need to be applied with ointment, so that there's no conversion towards ulcer takes place. Now there is gross destruction. There's another important thing which happens over here in Davies dorsalis called as Charcot joint. Now Charcot joint is that what happens is the sensory loss takes place. So what is happening is, even if the foot is not landing properly, or the foot has gone into eversion or inversion, or there is an ankle sprain, so what will happen, the patient is not going to have any pain. He will keep on moving till, because they are painless joints. Now once they are painless joints, the chances of getting dislocated is very common. So they are dislocated painless joints are there, and which lead to there is destruction of the foot as well as knees takes place. The person is not able to appreciate because of loss of sensation. So there's destruction or degenerative changes starts happening in the foot as well as around the knee. That is called as Charcot joint. That is loss of sensory. There will be no tendon reflexes will be there. Sensory foot destructed and dislocated foot will be there. An Agrile Robertson pupil is there. Now what is this is, the pupil will respond, that is the pupil will respond to near vision, that is there will be constriction of the pupil as well as dilatation of the pupil for near vision as well as distinct vision. Whenever we have this, a pupil responds so that we are able to read. But as soon as the light is put on the eye, the response of the pupil disappears. The pupil doesn't respond to the light reaction. Now you understand the light reaction. The pupil doesn't respond to light reaction, but it responds to the near vision as well as the far vision. The person will not come to know that he has got any eye problem. Why so? Because he will be able to read from near also. He will not complain for any loss of vision, distant vision or a near vision. But yes, when the response of pupil is seen with light reaction, then reflex that will be absent. That this kind of a pupil is called Agrile Robertson pupil. The third type is general paralysis insane. In this type of neurosyphilis, the nerve cells of the brain is involved, and many of them die, and because of what happens is the brain atrophy takes place. Now the blood supply to the brain is affected, so the brain will go into atrophy and it will shrink, and the person get the symptoms according to the area of the brain which has been involved, and the person dies. Fine. So what are the signs which we see? So in this condition, basically we see the signs of mental deterioration, that is dementia. Frontal lobes, there are changes basically seen in the frontal lobes, which is the major area which has been involved. So frontal lobe shows mental deterioration, that is the person dementia, he forgets, that is short term to long term memory, I mean immediate memory is lost. Then other psychiatric features are there, like there are delusions, emotional changes is there. He is not able to understand how we respond in a society, how do we respond in a society. Grandiose, that he is somewhere as acts as a king, and the other he behaves like a king. So that kind of a patient may have a grandiose delusions and emotional changes. So he may cry, he may be sad, so he doesn't know how to respond in a society. The clinical there is some diagnostic criteria also which has been developed in this, that is, first is which we say in the general in the third category, general paralysis of insane. The category 1 is neuropsychiatric disorder. The first stage of it is the neuropsychiatric disorders. The second category is cerebrovascular accident, that is there will be the lobe signs will start coming. That is, there will be also lobe signs, like if frontal lobe has been involved, then there will be again paralysis or weakness of one side of the body will start coming. Contralateral side will be there. Fine. Mental dementia will be there again. The area which is responsible for inhibitions will be totally lost. Fine. The third category is ocular. The eye involvement will be there, and we have seen Grail Robertson pupil will be there, or chorioretinitis will come up. Category 4, myelopathy will be there. Myelopathic feature will be start coming. That the cord involvement takes place. Now once the cord involvement takes place, that is the muscles get involved. Along with that, now there will be muscle weakness because the spinal cord has been involved, and now myelopathic changes starts taking place. Seizures is there depending on the which area of the brain is involved, and last is the brainstem and cranial nerve involvement. Once the cranial nerves, we keep on checking the cranial nerves and their response, and brainstem is responsible, you know that reticular articulating system, and it is responsible for all the six systematic function of our body. So once the brainstem is involved, and it results in the last stage category of this diagnostic criteria, where the person is the breathing rate, respiratory rate, everything is been involved, and the reticular activating system, whether the patient alertness level, they all are involved, or all the centers are there in brainstem, red nucleus, everything is there in brainstem. That brainstem is midbrain, pons, and medulla. So all the cranial nerves are running from 3 to 12 cranial nerves run from there, as well as the major systemic functional roles takes place in brainstem. Now, what do you treat? How do you treat? In primary and secondary syphilis, benzathine penicillin, basically it is used, penicillin is used for months, 3 weeks, fine. And whether it is active or not, we basically have the penicillin which is to be given, and different units of penicillin is given depending upon the whether it is primary or secondary syphilis is there. Now epilepsy is also very common in meningovascular and general paralytic form of neurosyphilis. So for epilepsy, we have already discussed what we have to see. We have to secure the ABC, that is our airway breathing pattern, fine, and we have to maintain the cardiac output. So what is happening is circulation. Fine. So A, B, C. A is for airway, breathing control, and circulation need to be maintained. So that is very much important. And then, of course, depending upon, so that the person doesn't hurt himself. Patient may also have delusions, grandeur, and they are basically given tranquilizers so that to calm down their behavior, because there are psychotic behaviors. They need to be calmed down with giving a tranquilizers. Fine. Now, with patients with tabes dorsalis, basically what happens over here is that, as I have already discussed, they have got charcoal joints and they have got sensory loss of foot, and a small corn or small abrasion of the foot or a tight fitting shoe can result in a painless ulcer, and this ulcer will become necrosed, and then it turn into gangrene, and it has to be amputated. So it's a very painful process. So what is patient foot care is very much important. Inspection of the foot as well as treatment of the small ulcers need to be taken care of. And charcoal joints, they need to protect their joints. Now they are if there is a small abrasion, they need to keep on checking their joints, because there is sensory loss, and if there is degenerative changes which are happening, they need to protect, because they are not feeling, even if they fall, they will not feel pain around the knee and the foot. Now these people, they need to, in PT, basically need to strengthen their muscles. The sensory loss is there, but there is no motor loss. So if we strengthen their muscles and we help their coordination, posture and gait, we can reduce the kind of damage which is there around their knees as well as foot or their girdles. Okay? And they, of course they have to be checked, regular examination. They should be given maintenance of food as well as general health should be taken care of. So as from PT point of view is protection of from the joints as well as deterioration of the joints can be reduced by maintaining good physical activity. Now these are the three stages, that is the first is meningovascular syphilis, the second is the tabes dorsalis, and the third is the general paralysis insane. This is the three stages of tertiary syphilis, that is neurosyphilis. Fine. So what happens in during exams, the person, if neurosyphilis has been asked, the person starts writing about tabes dorsalis. It is not only tabes dorsalis. It can happen. This that you have to write all the three conditions, or all the three conditions, out of which one of them is tabes dorsalis. Fine. So you need to give a brief up regarding what is syphilis, and we have not gone so much in detail about syphilis, but we have just touched about it. What is how the primary, what is the inoculation phase for the primary, how many weeks, that is around about after 3 weeks, it can go up to 12 weeks is the second stage, how much, and then it becomes latent for a period of 20 years also. In some cases it is 3 years, and it can go up to 20 years, and then later on it can again come up as the tertiary syphilis can come up as in the form of all the three stages. So there is the terms called chorioretinitis, aortitis and gammas should be introduced or should be written around this, and the terms related to the important terms like the bacteria, that is Treponema pallidum, need to be mentioned over here, that this is the primary cause of development of primary syphilis. Fine. I hope I have touched all the points regarding this neurosyphilis, and hope to see your comments on this topic. Thank you.